So I get that everyone has their own genre of choice. Some like first-person shooters, other RTS or strategy games. And when it comes to JRPGs, they're not the highest on my list. I think it's pretty high up there, but platformers, adventure games, Metroidvania, stuff that doesn't require me to think about different stats and how they affect everything, really speak more to me. But hey, can't sit around ignoring great games forever, so I want to expand my horizon. I've played some Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Dragon Quest, so yeah, pretty much only Square Enix. But also Persona 5, Paper Mario, Earthbound, Xenoblade Chronicles. I didn't finish that last one, to be fair, but the point is I got my basics covered. And I'm ready to explore into more niche stuff. Maybe Ys, Shin Megami Tensei, Golden Sun? Then one day, instead of screaming like the rest that Mario RPG hasn't been added to the Nintendo Switch Online service yet, I decided, you know what? Let me browse through this selection and actually look at the games we have. I'll have save states in the rewind feature. Those certainly made Yoshi's Island doable to 100%. Let's see what else I can play. Oh neat! Breath of Fire! That's that Capcom RPG series I've heard things about. Oh! I love Capcom! They make some of my favorite games of all time. I'd be down with playing a Capcom RPG, this is gonna be great! It wasn't! If there's anything I want you to take away from this video, it's that Breath of Fire 1 is so goddamn slow. My experience felt like falling into a thick swamp, and the rest of the game being me trying to wriggle my way out of it. This basic walking speed, that's all you're getting for the whole 20-hour adventure, which would be tolerable if it wasn't for the atrocious encounter rate. Every goddamn second. Oh, there's a scary enemy you have to deal with, and you whack them, and they die, and you take 2 steps, and oh, there's another one. And yes, I know there's an item that can help you prevent those encounters, but that feels like a tacked-on solution for an issue that shouldn't have been present to begin with. Or maybe through another viable option like running from a battle, and you might think, well, there's the option to do that. Is there really? Because 9 out of 10 times, running away ended up in failing. So to get a move on, you decide to kill them anyway. Now, you think that killing so many enemies might cause you to become overpowered very quickly. And no, not really. I mean, sure, spells, transformations, and equipment will make sure you barely take a dent later on. But leveling? You need to grind on top of killing everything you come across, which is a lot. And the grind is so slow. I'm aware of the fact the GBA version remedies some of my gripes, with less grinding, less encounters, and a run function, but my experience with the SNES original was it being too fucking slow. What also doesn't help the pacing is that there really isn't a narrative to carry your adventure along. I mean, there's the most bare bones quest goal and occasional dialogue. Your sister is kidnapped, go after her and collect some story-related treasures until, look at that, you killed the bad guy, credits roll, go get a sandwich. I understand that the whole RPG genre wasn't super expansive in this time period, but as old as this game is, coming out in 1993, it's still relatively late in comparison to its better competition. Final Fantasy IV was already out in the West and 5 in Japan. Dragon Quest also had multiple installments out that already modernized RPG mechanics. Also, pretty much immediately after this came out, RPGs like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, and Super Mario RPG hit the scene. So you have these two eras of RPGs that modernized the entire franchise, and then Breath of Fire is kinda just there in the middle. I guess perhaps it's unfair to compare this to so many of Squaresoft's and Enix's RPGs, when they had been doing it for so long already, but I just find it odd that what we got in essence is about as involved as the first Dragon Quest game. Or, no, I think a boring version of Earthbound would be a better example. Earthbound can be a rather slow RPG at times, but it makes up for it with some design choices that complement the game. For instance, removing random encounters, cause you see the enemies on the map. It has a basic narrative that's more so a collection of moments than a full-on story, but what makes this game so great is the character and humor that the game is filled with. You want to explore this world cause it's so unconventional, which is funny cause it's a conventional setting. Things make you laugh, the battles are engaging, there's a variety of attacks that work, as opposed to Breath of Fire where there's none of that. Basic structure, attacks, RPG traditions, and plenty of random encounters, all the while going at a snail's pace. There's interesting NPCs for sure, but it feels more so because localization wasn't the best, that they stick out as memorable because of it. There's also NPCs that seem completely unimportant at first and all of a sudden turn out to be a party member for your team. This really caught me off guard. Let's talk to this random NPC cause someone else told me so. Wait, they're a party member? But why? Like, even after beating the game, I don't know anything about these characters. Who the fuck are these people? A fish? A cow? Greased lightning? It doesn't help that your activities feel kind of muted as well. Hey, I need you to do thing A. Okay. Alright, do thing B. Okay, cool. Okay, now go back to where you did thing A and do thing C. Fuck. And of course, you'll have to walk all the way back. Oh, there is a warp spell. That's not gonna help you if the place isn't in the town and behind the dungeon you already went through. We're not legendary heroes on a quest, we're goddamn UPS trying to get everyone the shit they ordered on Amazon. Having complained about the party members' insignificance in the story, you think that maybe, okay, narratively they don't stand out, but maybe gameplay-wise? Each party member has their own strengths and weaknesses, so perhaps that'll make their abilities translate into unique gameplay features. And they do. For a couple hours, after which they become fodder for the other characters. Sounds weird? Oh boy, let me tell you about this game's worst and greatest feature then. The transformation mechanic. See, eventually, you'll be getting used to your party makeup. But oh, you get a party member too many. How does the game combat you not being able to use all of them at once? Maybe they scale with you. No, just fuse them together. See, Mr. USA here can absorb the other party members to transform into a variety of forms that frankly look ridiculous. But they make that specific character completely overpowered, and admittedly, this is pretty great. Just steamrolling over enemies you might have previously had issue with is satisfying. But it represents one big issue I have with the whole game. There really isn't an alternative way to play. There's one best way to fight in this game, and that's using Ryu's dragon form, Nina's healing, a transformation, and a magic user. And even before that, you stick to Ryu, Nina, Bo, because it just makes the most sense. You have physical attackers, you have a healer, and you have a magic user. And boss battles, oh my god. Never mind the boss's life bar going down as slow as possible and there being millions of them. Every boss has an invisible second life bar that kicks in when the first one runs out, and works like a second wind. You'd reckon this would only be for a couple of hits. And it is, at the start, but eventually, it can take such a long time wailing on a boss. All the while not having any idea of what you're doing is effective. Like, what's the fucking point of a life bar, a visual indicator of progress, if it lies to you? I'm not nearly done, this isn't a desperation move, this is phase 2 and it's gonna take as long, if not longer, depending on the boss. Having said all of that, there's one specific thing I need to talk about in detail. At a certain point near the end of the game you get access to the ultimate transformation spell. I can't believe this is a thing, but it combines all your party members into one giant unit that does heaps of damage. Now, the most amazing thing is that this form only has a basic attack, so the last few fights, the ones supposed to truly test you, are an absolute cakewalk, because you can auto-battle everything to death with the basic attack function. That is amazing. It hasn't been since Bravely Default where I was able to game the system in such an extreme way. Except there, it felt like an oversight, and here it feels like an intentional design choice. I mean, I think it's optional? I didn't go out of my way to try the last dungeon without this ability. It's just odd that an instant win button is this easily earned. Not like, for instance, the Chrysogrim in Symphony of the Night, a sword hidden in a super obscure location with a very low drop chance. Yeah, I get that that's a secret. But here, just do a bonus dungeon? Oh, you did it. Here's God mode. So, all in all, Breath of Fire is a slow, basic by the numbers game for me. Do I regret playing through it though? No, not really. I am planning on going through the other games at some point, because I do hear people sing the franchise's praises, specifically later entries like 3 and 4. Though I did hear that the last one on the PS2 wasn't so hot. I want to see the transformation mechanic expand and maybe be less game-breaking, and more integrated into the basic gameplay loop. Characters with transformations is a really cool idea for an RPG, or bosses with desperation attacks as long as they don't last too long. Now I know the second game is on the Nintendo Switch Online service as well, and I'm debating between playing that or going for the version on the GBA because of all the quality of life improvements. On the one side, it would make my experience with the second game a lot more positive, but on the other side, playing the SNES original would allow me to compare it directly with the first game and see all the improvements. But from what I've heard, the second game still has the same grind, same amount of random encounters, same general pace of the first, so it really depends on how much I hate myself that day. So take it from me, if you're ever in the mood to try a new game, just make sure that it comes with a pair of Nikes.